low-wage workers from the state of West Virginia are rallying Democratic Senator Joe Manchin for his opposition to raise the federal minimum wage. He has been pretty vocal against it, and looks like some of these workers from his own state, his own constituents, demand that he change his position on this. Pam Garrison from the Poor People's Campaign West Virginia chapter spoke during this online event, which was held on Monday of this week. Let's hear a little of what she has to say.
I will meet with him. I will tell him I will be one of his constituents. Maybe he'll listen to me because I don't know who he's listening to right now. So people, join us. Write your letters, write, text, phone call, and tell them we're not buying the lies. Enough's enough. You give us a living wage and we'll get this economy going.
Delicious. Because guess what? The people of West Virginia would also like an increase in the federal minimum wage. So when Joe Manchin tries to cite the fact that he comes from a red state for why he's trying to be more moderate on the federal minimum wage hike, just understand that he's full of it. It has nothing to do with his constituents. It has everything to do with his donors. And he's trying to look out for their best interests while pretending as if he's serving the best interests of his constituents. He is not serving the best interests of his constituents. And if the progressive Democrats are serious about increasing the federal minimum wage, they need to continue tapping into how the constituents in his state feel in order to fight back against the narrative that we're hearing from Joe Manchin. I love it. There's so much more to this story, but Nando, I wanted to give you an opportunity to jump in.
Again, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, Joe Manchin, he doesn't understand that. I mean, I'm sympathetic to his kind of rhetorical pose against Democrats because Democrats are very unpopular in his state, and that is true. That is 100% true. Democrats are not popular in West Virginia, so Joe Manchin has to figure out ways in which to, while still being a Democrat, kind of distance himself from them. This issue is the exact wrong way to do it. This is the exact type of issue that would win him eternal support from the voters in his state, because the minimum wage is popular everywhere. It is popular everywhere. It is popular in blue states. It is popular in red states. It is popular in urban areas. It is popular in rural areas. It is popular everywhere because it is a simple thing. People understand. People know. Oh, you either make $7, that sucks, or you make $15. That's better, okay? Like it's not rocket science. Like more money in people's hands is a thing that people like. No one's like, I've read the studies that suggest that maybe on the margins in some communities, the increase in the minimum wage might cause job losses in certain sectors of the economy. But it's like, no. People think about it in a much more different way. And yeah, so I love that workers are organizing, fighting back. The Fight for 15 movement has been one of the most inspirational political developments of my lifetime. I remember when it started in 2012. If people, including very liberal people, were like, look at those people. Look at they're ridiculous. They want a $15 minimum wage. They're ridiculous. And now it is becoming more and more hegemonic. It's becoming like just the baseline that people are rallying around, and many even mainstream Democrats are tooting its horn. So it's just been a remarkable example of what organizing, strikes, and all that stuff can deliver. They can deliver the political goods, because I do believe we'll see a $15 minimum wage in the next few years.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you're right, it's not rocket science. Oh, wow, people want more money in an economy where you need money to survive. Like, yeah, obviously that it's not a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's an American people versus the corporate world thing. That's where the division is. And we need to stop buying into the false narratives that we hear from both the media and lawmakers like Joe Manchin when it comes to this specific issue. Now in West Virginia, the minimum wage currently sits at $8.75 an hour. There was another speaker who was part of this campaign to kind of apply pressure and get him to change course on the minimum wage. So one of them said this: "I'm speaking to you, Senator Manchin. You know that in West Virginia, the minimum wage needs to be $23 in order for people to live, not wonder where their next meal is coming from." And there needs to be a little bit of emphasis on Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona as well, because she's the other Democratic lawmaker who's pretending as if increasing the federal minimum wage would somehow be unpopular with her constituents in Arizona. She's completely full of it. And Nando, since you mentioned strikes, I do want to talk about some of the strikes that did take place this week. There were strikes with workers demanding an increase in the federal minimum wage. This took place in 15 different US cities, including Charleston, South Carolina, Chicago, Flint, and Detroit in Michigan. You have Raleigh and Durham in North Carolina, Houston, Miami, Orlando, and Tampa, which, by the way, I mean, Florida did just pass a ballot initiative to increase the federal, their state minimum wage to $15 an hour. But I do love seeing solidarity with the workers in Florida as well. So this is good news because there is organizing taking place. The workers at McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, joined by home care and nursing home workers, took action as the Biden administration is attempting to push through an increase in the federal minimum wage from $7.25 in what would be the first increase since 2009. But I don't want to give Biden too much credit yet because he has wavered on this issue. He has repeated in multiple instances that he doesn't think that the minimum wage hike will make it in the final version of the coronavirus economic relief bill. There's no reason for him to believe that, other than the fact that he just had a meeting with corporate CEOs at the White House, something that wasn't really reported on widely, but I talked about with a lot of detail on last week's episode of Weekends for Jacobin. He's getting letters from the US Chamber of Commerce urging him to implement more means testing, don't do the $15 an hour minimum wage. I'm not at all interested in what the US Chamber of Commerce wants. We are in a uniquely awful position right now where the economic anxiety that Americans were already dealing with has been further compounded with the nightmare brought forth by this pandemic. And if Biden doesn't get real, if Democrats don't get real about responding to all of this appropriately, not only are the American people going to suffer the consequences, but no fear mongering in the world is going to dissuade people from voting for a more clever version of Trump who uses the same like populist lingo, but doesn't actually do the right thing and pushes more division in this country. I'm really worried about that happening. And apparently Biden's completely delusional about it. It's very frustrating.
Wouldn't it be something if the president, who is the head of the nominally left party in the United States, came out in support of striking workers? Like, it's so unimaginable. It's so unimaginable. But imagine if that were to happen. It's just, but obviously they won't. We can't even expect that. It's crazy. We can expect them to meet with CEOs all the time.
Yep.
But to meet with the workers, no. Show up on the picket line, no way.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.